We're live, and we're talking about health this week, and I might cry. Stay tuned. Hello, I'm Robert.
I'm Daniel.
I'm Toss.
So, what's new? Anybody have anything to share? Anything fun?
What
No?
is new? I'm tired and cranky.
That's not new.
I think that's just being 40, isn't it?
It's being 40.
Oh my god, are
It's
we all
most-
40?
Mostly around my health stuff, which is the topic of the day. I think, I'm like in these waves where I get tired. Next week I have to go get my blood transfusion.
When you say your health stuff, if you were to like pinpoint who's doing what, like who's making you tired, who's making you like, what are the different things that are making you feel what you're feeling?
I just feel tired in general,
Mm-hmm.
usually, and it's because I'm anemic, so just so people know. But it's like a rare form of anemia, and my body doesn't produce enough red blood cells. So like every few weeks I have to get a blood transfusion to like re-energize myself. So I get tired, but I think like I'm in this whole sobriety journey right now to like get my health better and also like eat healthier and all of that, because like my eating habits don't help with my health goals. So
Are there specific things you should be eating to optimize the
yes,
situation that you have, like to kind of
Yeah, they
optimize
say-
your system?
definitely. They say that people who are thalassemic, which is what I am, thalassemic, which is a form of anemia, they should be eating a lot of leafy vegetables, a lot of fruits, a lot of fish, and lean protein, no wasteful sugars and carbs and things like that. No wasteful carbs. So junk food is like not great for, but I think it's not great for anyone, basically, junk food in general. Yeah.
Is that something that you want to work toward?
I do. It's very hard to work towards that living as an American. Being raised as an American, it's very hard to work towards like those health goals because we're so inundated with capitalism and junk food capitalism, fast food capitalism, all of that. Yeah.
I feel like it's made doubly difficult by the fact that we're essentially all children of immigrants, and I feel like there's a certain physical appearance that is maybe not so much for Daniel, because I feel like it, like the physical appearance pressures maybe weren't necessarily put upon you by your parents necessarily.
No, not
But
really. I feel like the better I was, the better.
I feel like there's a lot of rigid health ideas that are just kind of baked in to our like upbringing.
Yeah, for sure.
I've struggled with my weight since I was 6 years old, and so that's when I started dieting when I was like 6 years old. I remember there was a diet that my mom cut out of the newspaper and put on the fridge, and it was the most wackadoo diet because I remember one of the meals, I want to say breakfast, was a slice of whole grain toast with chunky peanut butter spread on it. And I don't know if you've ever had a hot slice of toast with crunchy, chunky peanut butter, like dry. It was like eating rocks. And it was the dry. I can close my eyes sometimes and remember the feeling of like the desert in my throat. It just like, it was the worst thing ever. And then I go back to the idea that it was like something she cut out of the newspaper. Like weird, right? Like it's just like, given how, and I get that it was a different time and we weren't walking around with computers in our pockets, but the idea that today we do all of this research before we'll even try, something. It's just weird, the idea that my parents were like, oh, this is in the news, like today's newspaper. Let's clip it and live our lives by it,
Yeah. A lot of my friends in the city, they try to eat healthier, and it's like hard. It's hard to eat healthy. It's expensive, and it's hard to eat healthy.
What would it look like for you? And I want us all to answer this, but what would it look like for each of you to eat healthy?
For me, eating healthy would be number one first, cooking for myself. Because
Mm.
I don't even cook for myself. That is like something I will admit right here. I'm a very impatient slash lazy person when it comes to food preparation. So I'd rather like just order something or go pick up like some like pizza or junk down the street than like take the time to like uh meal prep, which is that's part of like my process of like of nutrition goals right now is trying to like learn to meal prep. So that's like a baseline need to do. Um, but eating healthy means like cutting out sugary drinks in my diet, which is something that's been very hard. I drank a lot of soda as a kid, a lot of soda, and as a teenager too. Like my friends used to like laugh because they would see like the mound of cans of Mountain Dew in the back of my car while we were driving around.
I still remember it. I still remember it.
Mm-hmm.
It's more, I mean, I think, because I think back to being in college and seeing all of the Mountain Dew because you were always on a Mountain Dew. You always had your
Yeah.
lips wrapped around a Mountain Dew. It was a fresh one. And we went to school at a campus that was serviced by PepsiCo. So we had vending machines with Mountain Dew readily available right outside the classroom. It was more like,
That stuff is not good for you kids. It's like,
no.
what is it, like
I just
50
remember
grams of sugar in a serving?
I had a
to
Mountain Dew once and I thought I was gonna die.
to
Like,
me the issue
didn't
with
feel good.
Mountain Dew is more what it would do, what the caffeine is doing to your body than the sugar, because I guess like where almost any full flavor soda that's out there is probably like full of sugar, Mountain Dew is uniquely also full of caffeine. And
Yeah,
so, because of something to do with like the food coloring that they put in the soda, but
yeah.
that was what I was always thinking about.
I
'Cause
think
like,
Mountain Dew is actually one of the highest level caffeine and sugary drinks on the market right now.
did you have trouble sleeping in college out of curiosity?
Of course.
Oh, you say of course as if it's a normal thing. I would sleep like a baby. So,
Yeah.
like very much like a baby, including one that did not have to go to school. That was very much my thing in college. Daniel, what does eating healthy look like for you?
I mean, it's gonna sound really cliche, but I think just like lots of vegetables and salads and like grilled meat, roasted meat, things like that. I grew up with a really carb-heavy diet. Being Puerto Rican, it was like rice and beans were just there all the time. It didn't matter what we were having. And I was a really picky eater until I was 11, and then my grandmother, as she put it, taught me how to eat, which was basically I'm going to put a pile of food in front of you and stand next to you while you're eating it until you're done. Obviously there was meat and things like that, but it was mainly, rice, beans, other grains, pastas in abundance. And my grandmother, who was born in 1930, right after the Depression started, it just kind of made sense that that was her kind of go-to way of cooking and eating because her family didn't have anything in Puerto Rico
Right.
during the 30s and 40s. That kind of depression mindset and diet really transferred over into how she was raised, how my mom was raised, and so on and so forth. And so, I mean, now rice and beans are more like a special thing to eat because we don't make them all the time. But I would say like cutting out snacks. I love chips and pretzels, anything savory, and gummy candy. And I will like bounce between the two if they're in the house. I'll like alternate. And so I'm always on the hunt for like that combination. But like tonight, we had a very carb heavy dinner, and I passed out on the sofa because I felt very dizzy. And it's not what I should be eating now. I need to have more like high fiber, high protein things for many reasons. But I think it would just be less like simple carbs, like less white foods, like white bread, white rice, things like that, and more, fruits and vegetables, leafy greens, especially because they're really good for like iron and things like that. Yeah,
I
that's.
sort of suspect that if we had a house and we could grill every night for dinner, it would be a
Hmm.
game changer. It would be such a game
Yeah.
changer. Although I
Yeah.
say that and The game that would change is that we would be house poor.
You could get a George Foreman grill.
We had like a little like a grill in our old apartment when we were allowed to like grill out on our balcony, but now we're not, so we got rid of it. But we'll make like grilled chicken's a staple, roasted like chicken, things like that. We make quite frequently. It just depends on our schedule. Like that's really the killer because some of those things you can't really. I mean, you could meal prep them, but then they don't taste right unless you're making them in the moment. So when we did keto, I think for 2 years or a year and a half, and that was a lot of meal prep. I mean, that was very high fat diet, but it did work. I will say, like it's great for losing weight and energy and things like that. And we also did the Whole30 for a month, which is like what do they call it? It's like an elimination diet. So like you're eliminating all carbs, any type of inflammatory foods. That was like the best I'd felt ever was during the Whole30. But
Well, because
it's
the
so restrictive.
Whole30 is designed to identify the foods that are causing you inflammation. So you
Yeah.
essentially eliminate all of the inflammatory foods and then reintroduce them. You're supposed to take 90 days to reintroduce them. We kind of just like started eating them after day 30. It is an interesting diet and it does teach you more about your body. I will say that I am grateful that I have been dieting since I was 6 years old because I do understand like the way that my body works in terms of the optimal things to eat when I don't know, like if I need to have like a super long day, I know what to put in my body in order to be able to fuel it for that entire day. Do I always do it? No. In fact, it's probably like 90% of the time I don't do it. Eating healthy looks like proteins and vegetables. That's really, I always think of how Willem from Drag Race talks about how he lost weight before he started acting, and it was by doing protein and grilled chicken or grilled chicken and a vegetable, basically. So I don't know. It's funny. It's something that I'm newly wanting to lose weight, mostly because we saw a YouTube video recently where there was this guy who lost 220 pounds over the course of a year. And I'm over here like, oh, well, I have only about half that I need to lose before I get to my goal. So maybe I should film it and put it on our YouTube channel and have that keep me. This is actually an idea that I'm kicking around. I want to come up with a strategy, like an actual strategy, and then do check-ins once a month. Still to come. But I feel like a big part of weight loss for me, or being healthy in terms of related to like eating and exercising, is accountability. That's usually the thing that really helps me.
For me, it's like there's still a lot of fear around nutrition and exercise, which are things I'm like trying to get past right now and like just getting over those fears and just like diving in because those are the things that are going to help me get to that next step in my like health goals.
What's the fear? Like, where's the fear coming from?
It's the fear of failure, a lot of fear of failure, of not doing it right. It's all very internalized. It's all that inner saboteur
Yeah.
thinking it's like if the food doesn't come out the exact way that it's supposed to look, that fear is just like, oh my god, like why did you even bother doing this? And like this looks terrible, like you wasted your time. All of these things that we like try to battle with our like own inner saboteurs all the time.
I can see how that would dissuade you from cooking, but one of the things, so I'm hypercritical. If you come over for dinner at my house and I cook for you, I'm going to ask you what you thought of the flavor, what you thought of, I'm going to ask you as if you're like filling out a comment card, because I am always looking. I like to improve the things that I create because it's so important. Just like you were saying, Toss, is like this thing of if it doesn't come out right, you feel completely deflated, right? And so to me, it's like I'm constantly wanting to learn, like, oh, I have to add more salts here, or I need to do more, this needs to be a little bit spicier, or whatever, like whatever it is. I'm always looking to improve the way that things taste because I'm convinced that there's a correlation between understanding cooking and then also cooking more often. Because feeling empowered when you're in the kitchen, it sounds corny, but it's something that actually helps with cooking for yourself. Even if you're not making something that you would like consider healthy. Like we made how many pizzas this weekend? 5?
Four.
4.
Four.
Right.
From
And it
scratch.
was
Made it from scratch? Wow.
two of them were from scratch.
Okay, fine. We
Two of
used
them two
pre-made
of them
dough for two
were
of them.
store-bought. Two of them were store-bought dough.
Yeah. But not cooked dough, like the raw, like, you have to let it sit and mush it around and stuff. I mean, it was a lot of
Right.
fun. It was like we were having a pizza party with our friends, which is really
I mean,
exciting.
it's exactly what it is, and what kind of inspired it for me is the fact that Daniel and I are so interested in learning how to make the things that we like to eat, and pizza has never been one of those things. We've
Mm-mm.
never been like, let's demystify pizza and figure it out, even though I grew up with parents that I would say are kind of like novice, maybe intermediate in terms of cooking. We would make pizza. Like we had a bread machine, and so there was a recipe for pizza dough. We would throw all of the ingredients in the bread machine in the morning, and by like noon we'd have a ball of dough, and then we had a pizza stone. Like we had things to make pizza, which is like, this is shocking because my parents are not into cooking, like not even a tiny
No.
bit.
No, your parents like freaked out when we cooked in their house that time. They were like,
My parents buy frozen rice. Like I will never
okay,
understand, rice is like one of the easiest things to make, and they buy it frozen, pre-made.
it's
That's
not
Like
so
good.
weird.
It's not
it's
good.
it's really good, but
I
like it
didn't like.
tastes great, but anyway, it's a little shocking to me, but it's something that we've never even attempted pizza before, except for when we were keto. Because
Hmm.
then when we were keto, we had to turn into scientists for every craving we had because we had to figure out how to make that meal keto.
Yeah.
And one of the longest journeys was making keto s'mores because
Oh my god.
Mm.
we had to make marshmallows first, and it was like a marathon for like 20 minutes of making because I still remember it. It was like because the video we were watching was like, you have to pour this and then immediately start mixing, and then you're mixing for 16 minutes straight. And I was just
Mhm.
standing there like, and this video lives on our YouTube channel. So if you want to look for it, you're in the right place. But
And they wouldn't melt. Do you remember that?
yeah, they
Like they
did.
were.
We would put
They.
them in the microwave to try and like turn them into s'mores, and we would microwave them for like 3 seconds and they disintegrate.
Mhm.
It's like something out of a cartoon or a sci-fi movie. It was weird. Um, yeah, but I was curious about something because I was thinking about, like leading up to this, to creating this episode. I was thinking about how we were going to structure this conversation, and one of the questions that kept coming up for me is, when I think of like when I hear the word health, I don't think about my mental health. I think about physical health whenever anyone says health. Do you both have that same thing?
For me, for a long time, it was just like physical health. And then as I got older and developed things like depression, or realized that I had depression and crippling anxiety most of the time, um, I realized that a lot of what I was feeling physically was tied to that, like aches and pains and just like weird nerve sensations. And then once I
Hmm.
started to see a therapist, like 10 years ago, I think, maybe longer. I don't know. I've been on and off with therapists over the years and taking medication for it. It helped me get under control so I could understand that, like, sometimes if I forgot to take my anxiety medication, I would end up feeling dizzy, for example, right halfway through the day. And now I'm much more conscious about my dosages, about taking my medication on time, and more importantly, it's like if something hurts, I call the doctor immediately. Like it could be like my ankle was hurting for like 2 weeks, and I was like, it'll go away. And no, I went to the podiatrist. I got a shot. I got an anti-inflammatory because I have plantar fasciitis, and I was like, hobbling for 2 weeks. If I'd just gone, the day 2, I probably would have felt better at work for the past couple of weeks. But I was like, no, I just like I twisted my foot or something, like I did something to it, and so I didn't listen to myself, and I suffered because of it. But I think like for me, it's kind of looking at it holistically, and quite frankly, I think mental health to me is the most important thing, because if I'm not in a good place with my mental health, I'm like ignoring the rest, right? Because like then you just want to
Absolutely.
like I push myself more when I am having like a mental health moment. Like I don't like I'm not a take to bed person. So like if I'm having a depressive episode or something, I'm probably pushing myself to like ignore it, more so than not. So I'll like throw myself into work or cleaning or like a project and like feel very like manic and frantic, and then I have to like take a second and like have a session with my therapist and really kind of reassess like where is this coming from, and when I do that I feel much better, and I think I need to listen to that a little more, because you can like I fall off the wagon with it all the time because of my job and because I'm so busy that I just completely ignore it because I love my job. So it's like I'm working and I think I'm enjoying myself, and I am, but there's like other parts of it that I need to address and, quite frankly, slow down a little bit. I think that's the biggest lesson I've learned over the years. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was the
Yeah.
biggest lesson from the pandemic, was to
Mm-hmm.
slow down.
I agree with
Yeah.
both of you guys. For a long time, I was also like, my views on health have evolved. Like, I always separated mental health and physical health. I always believed physical health was more health related, but like as like I've grown in like my mental health journey and my sobriety journey, I've really focused a lot and believe truly that mental health is health as well, and it's like a really important part, and like you can't, if you're not well up there, like everything else is not gonna function well
Mm-hmm.
at the same time.
Yeah.
um yeah, but I think also there's like the spiritual body as well, because people talk about that. They talk about mind, body, and spirit, and there's a spiritual health element as well, which is separate from the mental health part. It's debatable. Some people believe spiritual health is very similar to mental health, but others believe that spirituality and spiritual health is a whole nother sect and part of the health puzzle.
But it kind of seems like they're like mental health and spiritual health are sort of related, because it takes, like, when I lost my job last summer, it took me a while to understand that there were still good things that could happen for me in my life. And I feel like
Yeah,
that's something that, like, having good mental health feeds into having good spiritual health. And
for
because like
sure.
that's the experience I had with it, is understanding that being employed and having a regular paycheck was not the thing that defined me, even though I allowed myself to believe that for the last, 5 to 10 years of my life. It's not what defines me, and it's not who I am on the inside. Like, that was
For sure.
someone who I I was like silencing that version of myself so that I could forget that I needed that to feel complete and just be able to do my job, even though I was super unhappy. And so I can see why people would, I guess, conflate the two in a way, because
Yeah,
I feel like they're so, it's almost like you don't, I feel like if I wasn't in therapy and I wasn't taking care of my mental health, I wouldn't understand that there was that spiritual health there that also needed to
hmm,
be.
yeah, I agree with that. I believe there's like an interconnectivity between the two, but there's also a way, each way that you treat mental health and spiritual health can be different as well. Because like mental health, like there's of course like self-help, there's therapy, there's group therapy, there's all these types of different things for mental health, medication, all of these things, and spiritual comes with that as well, but it's also more like internal. And it's like meditation is like a big part of it. I don't know how you guys are with meditation. Has always been difficult for me. I was raised a Buddhist, but I am very American. So Buddhism is very hard for me. Not like I don't believe in Buddhism very much as an ideal and as a principle, but it's very difficult for me to, as a first generation American, to really tap into that, which is why I love like what White Lotus is talking about right now on this season. And like especially last night's episode what the monk was talking about like people from the West and like our like obsessions and desires and this need to want things all the time. And yeah, that's a really big barrier for spiritual health.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Capitalism is the enemy of that, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. How do you guys feel about meditation?
Well, before we get into that, I was just curious, did you grow up meditating when you were younger?
I did. I did actually. So um my parents have a room in their house that is a meditation room. It's like where our photos of like our ancestors are in there. It's a room where like you can sit and meditate and like there's like a Buddha and all of those things. But I also went to temple a lot as a kid and like the monks would require us to like take some time to meditate during when we're there. So
In a group setting?
in a group setting. Yeah. So I did meditate as a kid. I think it was easier now that I look back at it, easier when I was a kid than it is now. Cause less, less things to worry about when you're a kid than you are. There was also a time that I took like 3 months that I lived in a monastery as well. And I had to meditate every day while I was there. That was also a very difficult thing because I was an adult and I had adult issues and like it was hard for me to let go of everything that was like I was carrying from like my adult life in that time in my 3 months. I was really grateful for the experience, but looking back on it, I wish I was able to release a lot more during that experience. It would be something I would be interested in trying again at a later point in my life.
How does that
Yeah.
work? Well, I guess we can get into the specifics of that on another episode maybe, but because
Yeah, for sure.
it sounds like a healing experience.
Yeah.
My relationship to meditation is that it's super new in my life. It wasn't until I started doing ketamine therapy that I really understood what the purpose of meditation was, because I always thought that the point was to silence your mind to the point where it was kind of like your mind was on break. And that's not what it is at all. It's to just kind of let your mind run wild and do whatever it's going to do when it's in like a state of relaxation. And so I promised myself that I was going to I would do my ketamine therapy treatments on Saturday mornings. And I promised myself that when my sessions were up, that I would keep that appointment with myself every Saturday, but I haven't. And so it's something that I want to aided by a little marijuana. I want to because I feel like I feel like my anxiety is so great that I need a little something to help me with the relaxation part of it. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it's just not going to come. But it's definitely something that Daniel can attest to, that I have suggested that we do group. Like he and I will meditate for 10 minutes, whatever it is, like however long we can stand it. Because I do think that there's a lot I've gotten a lot of healing from meditating, and I do think that within ketamine treatments you're, I guess, like increasing your neuroplasticity, and I feel like the meditation is like one of the key ingredients in that it's not just the ketamine, it's also the meditating that helps with that.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, Daniel?
I've tried, like I was gonna say bouts of meditation, but that doesn't sound.
That's kind of how it feels sometimes.
It just like I have a lot of noise in my head all the time. It's been my
Same.
entire life. Like I'm a chronic worrier. I wake up every morning
Same.
thinking the world's gonna end. Positivity. It's I don't know why, but it's gotten worse as I've gotten older, and I think like Robert and I have just been through a lot the past year, and so it kind of made it even harder to see past the worry. But like honestly, like I spent maybe like 2 weeks in total last year in the hospital for different surgeries that I had to have. And so at night I would just kind of like stare at the wall and like use the what do you call that? The, like clicks and beeps from the machines as like a focus, I guess. And that would help. But like to get me through the hospital stay and through the pain, because I was also in quite a bit of pain. But like when I came home, it was hard to do that, to replicate that. Because like we don't have medical equipment at home to make all those noises.
But
But
I'm sure there's a
occasionally,
YouTube video we can look up with the beeps
I
and
know.
beeps for you.
Not that I think I want to relive that, but I think that sometimes we'll put on a guided meditation and it's very helpful to like fall asleep and like relax. But I just have a hard time like meditating like in the middle of the day, for example. Like it's just not a thing
Yeah,
that
same.
I can't
I'm
still my mind.
usually a morning or night
Yeah.
meditator.
But my therapist, I just started treatment with a new therapist who I found out is a nun, which is a very interesting moment when I realized that she was a nun on our video call. And she'll like put spirituality in the session if you want her to. I don't, so we don't go there. But she has this one exercise that she assigned me when I'm really stressed, which is just to like close your eyes, breathe really deeply, and imagine, I mean, quite literally, a happy place, but like a situation. So it's like, in that moment, what would you rather be doing? And it could be like a work stress thing, a family stress thing, and then what would make you feel better? And mine are always like dinner parties. Like when I do my like deep breathing, and close your eyes, it's like everybody I love is there and we're all cooking and there's music and we're in a house and our dog Gus is there. And so like I did it today at work actually and it helped me quite a bit. So I don't know if that is actually meditation, but like I do deep breathing a lot because I get these like chest pains because of my anxiety. So now combining it with that kind of visualization has really helped. So, and it's only like 5 minutes, but like it really, I don't know, I like it, something about it works.
Also curious, Toss. So since you're still like a regular meditator, correct?
Yes, yes.
Do you have moments where you fall off and kind of like have symptoms of withdrawal from meditation?
Yes, for sure. There has been times where I fall off from the meditation and then I get that withdrawal feeling of feeling like so stressed and worried because I haven't meditated enough.
I was afraid you were going to say that because I feel like I was assuming that that was like the side effect of not meditating. And that's
Yeah,
why all of the clinicians and guides and all that I saw when I was doing my ketamine treatments were like, you should please continue to meditate.
yeah,
They were like, you never have to do another treatment with us again, but please continue to meditate. Like
yeah.
it was so important to
Yeah,
them.
daily meditation is very important. It's hard to keep up with sometimes as a Westerner, but it is very important. I use Headspace when I meditate, and that gives me like 5 to 10 minutes in the morning every morning to just set my day, clear my mind, because like my mind is cuckoo in the morning when I wake up. It's just like all over the place. And like Headspace has like daily, like different meditations every morning, which is great. And then I try to do guided sleep meditations at night as well, because those are helpful because I'm also someone who my mind spirals at night when I'm trying to go to bed as well.
I think that we have crossed over into the scary place when it comes to going to sleep at night because we have gotten to the point where we now listen to scary stories when we're going to bed. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if that means that we're about to become serial killers or what, but we have a friend who watches scary stories before bed, and I remember thinking that could never be me. How are you falling asleep? And here we are. Because it's odd how it's like the one thing that truly helps us completely disconnect
Mm-hmm.
is listening to these insane stories of people being home alone, and then all of a sudden it sounds like someone's in the basement. Like you'd think that it would unnerve, but it's like, for whatever reason, it helps us unplug, like to the point where I put it on last night, almost like, like daring my body to be like, oh yeah, get scared, don't fall asleep. And in like 10 minutes, I was like, oh, I guess I have to turn it off because this loud commercial is on. Like, it wasn't even the scary story that woke me up. It was the stupid commercial between it. Like, we should pay for YouTube Premium.
Hmm. I mean, it put me to sleep in like 5 minutes, but I listen to those like all the time. I mean, for me, it's like when I'm having a really bad anxiety moment, which is like 6, 7 times a week. It depends. It's like,
Wow.
let's put on a scary movie. And like those will help me disconnect because it scares me so much that I'm like, oh, my anxiety's not so bad. I don't know if it's even healthy to do that, but it's a nice
That's so interesting because like a lot of people, scary movies stress them out.
but it's that stress. It's different from my real stress, right? Like about work or family or health or like I don't know, anything or traffic or public transportation. Like it gets rid of like it's a stress that I'm engaging in to entertain myself. It's like a weird thing, but I've found that it like if I'm sad it helps, if I'm angry, if I'm worried because I don't know, it's like the ultimate like escape for me cuz like comedies and rom-coms and like I don't know, like all sorts of stuff like that, they're like too saccharine for me.
Yeah.
So
Well, but
like
some of these
for that
horror movies
like
can
for
be
that
comedies.
purpose, of course.
We watched one of the Final Destination movies yesterday, and it was the one where the guy dies during an acupuncture session. And it's just like it's one of those things where you're laughing at like he falls off the table with the acupuncture needles still in his body, and when he gets up, he has all of these huge gashes, and it's like, man, that's not how acupuncture needles work. It's just like the campiness of it
Yeah,
is
it's the
so
absurdity of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's fun. It's just like it's such a good
Yeah.
time
No,
and
but
I
I get what you mean. Yeah, for sure. With the horror, like I like to unwind with fantasy television, and like sci-fi and fantasy is like what helps me to relax.
I feel
So
like
I
Marvel
can,
is your horror movie.
yeah, for sure. I can put on a Marvel movie and just like check out. Like I've seen them all, and I could probably not tell you about a single one of them, any detail plots about a single one of them.
My favorite thing to do is so my favorite movie is Scream. I feel like I've said that 800 times. And one of my favorite things to do is to put it on when I'm like really tired because then I fall asleep and my brain creates a whole new scene in my head but with the dialogue from the movie. It's my one of my
Yeah.
favorite things. I don't know if anybody else does that. I don't know if there's a word for it, but it's one of
I
the
also
reasons why when we're watching a movie sometimes I'll fall asleep, but I don't notice it because there's another movie playing in my head.
I also like watching Drag Race to fall asleep. Old
Mm.
seasons of Drag Race
Mm.
is great for that.
Do you have a season you go to?
Season 6 and season 5 sometimes, but season 6, 5, and 9. 9 especially. Those three. Those are my go-tos. I enjoy watching those back to front to back.
So you don't have a favorite episode?
What is my favorite episode?
I can tell you
Hmm.
confidently, my favorite episode from season 6 is it episode 3 when they do the scary movie challenge? I
Oh,
mean,
that's a
look at
great
me being
episode.
on brand. But yeah.
I really like the musical in season 9.
Oh, I
The
thought you were going to say in
musical.
season 6.
Did they do a musical in season 6?
Yeah.
What was that
The
musical?
fish oil. I
Oh
just got
yeah.
off the bar.
Oh yeah. No, I
Don't
love the
do it. She's a
Kardashian
whatever queen
musical.
with one eye. My God, the
The
Kardashian musical.
Kardashian musical. Black China.
Oh my
Oh my
God.
god.
That was so bad. So bad. Do you have a favorite overall episode of Drag Race, just out of curiosity?
Favorite overall episode. I really love the finale of season 9. Just because
Ooh.
that changed, Sasha Velour changed the game right then and there, forever and ever. Because no one saw that coming. No one. No one.
Not from the bald queen. Like,
No.
plot
Yeah.
twist.
Yeah. That was a great episode.
Daniel, do you have a favorite episode of Drag Race?
No, I don't. I mean, I have like favorite queens that I would just watch anything that they do, but not really. I don't know. Not really. Actually, not really a favorite episode because like I also have a really bad memory when it comes to Drag Race. Like I'll like kind of Frankenstein episodes together,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm trying to. No, I don't think I do. Really?
Mine is season 9, Your Pilot's on Fire. That will always be my favorite episode because the lip
That's
sync,
such a great one.
on that episode. I still remember when before that episode aired, there was a thread on Reddit about it, and I was like, no, that's not gonna happen. No, there's no way. And then that episode aired, and I was like, wow, it's just like that's such good television, that particular episode. It's the for those who've never seen the show, it's the one where Valentina goes home.
Yeah. I also really like season 7's
Glamazonian
what's it called?
Airways.
No, no,
That one
no,
is
no.
very
I
good.
was gonna say the what's it called? The Divine Challenge. That was a
Mhm.
great episode.
Eggs, eggs, eggs. All I want is egg.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that our conversation devolved from talking about health to talking about Drag Race, but I feel like they are connected.
They are. Drag Race is mental health.
It is. I wonder if there's a correlation between Drag Race fans and sports. Because I feel like there might be some correlation there, because I remember being younger and kind of getting into whatever sport the person next to me was into. And it's interesting how it kind of doesn't matter what it is. If you can get into
The
like
competition nature of Drag Race. Yeah.
the competition nature of anything, I'm saying, like
I
in
mean,
terms
I've
of
seen
sports.
that. Yeah, I was a big WWE fan as a kid, which is not really a sport, but that's entertainment.
But I feel like that's super similar because it's a form of drag. These people are in drag doing
yeah,
wrestling.
yes,
And
yes.
it's like it's scripted, isn't it?
Yeah, these straight
Right,
men
like
are
it's all.
scripted in their own type of drag. They're
Mhm.
overacting. Yeah. It's so funny to like talk to a WWE fan, like a hardcore fan, because they get so defensive when you talk to them about like how camp that WWE actually is, and they're like, no, this is serious stuff. We're like, okay, queen, all right.
Oh my god.
I was really into basketball because I remember I had a whole moment with the Chicago Bulls, and then I had another moment with baseball when I was like 15 or 16. I was following the Mets, and then in college I had a moment with baseball again when I was living with Yankee fans during it was like the Yankees
Wow.
versus the Red Sox, and the house directly across the street from us were Red Sox fans, and it was a whole thing with like they came out and they were like burning Yankee hats. It was wild. For purchase, it was wild.
Were you into any
Interesting.
sports, Daniel?
No. My grandfather was a big baseball fan, and we went to a few Yankees games, and I found them really boring. Like to the point where like I think I fell asleep during one of the games, and they're like I'm not a big sports person, but I really liked playing sports in high school, like just for fun. When it was, we'd do soccer or
Yeah.
basketball, volleyball. Like I was terrible at all of them, but there was something about engaging with other people
Oh
and
yeah.
like the movement, like that was fun to me. And because it didn't really matter, like it was just for fun. Like we didn't really have an athletic team. I enjoyed that, but what I really enjoyed growing up was horse racing, because that was something that like my grandfather and I would do basically anytime I was on break from school. If there was a horse race, we were at like Aqueduct or Belmont, and it was just such a beautiful experience because it's a very like pretty setting, and the horses
Yeah.
are really majestic. I mean, I understand that it can be a cruel sport because like horses shouldn't really be doing that. Like it's not great for them, but there's just something really fun about it because you're rooting for a horse and a jockey who don't like it's all basically like how is the horse feeling that day, how is the jockey feeling that day, like is the horse going to listen to his jockey or her jockey. So it like you never knew, and as a child I was convinced like if I liked the name of the horse they were going to win, and that's how I would bet, or rather I would tell my grandfather who to bet for and he would go put the money for me, and then I got to keep it if I won. But that was kind of the extent of like sports in my family. Like we were a big horse racing family.
You would also watch the Olympics.
The Olympics for figure skating. Or like
Yes,
the
same.
yeah. But
Same.
it wasn't like I didn't understand how that worked as much as I did horse racing, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Like the points and stuff. To me it was just like people dancing on ice. Like I didn't understand it. But
But you
for
were
me, horse
watching it
racing.
because you were entertained.
Yes, I found it very
Yeah.
entertaining.
I
Yeah.
followed figure skating so much as a kid. Oh my god.
It was so big in the 90s, though. Like, it
Yeah.
was,
I
like,
was
I
like
remember,
following Tanya and Nancy and Brian Boitano. Yeah. Oksana Bayul.
oh my God, Oksana Bayul,
Christy
when
Yamaguchi. Oh
she
my
threw her
god.
medal on the ice, that was like,
Yeah. These icons there.
oh my God,
Who
it
was
was
the
such
one
a
from the
moment.
70s who we watched? So Daniel got me to watch the Olympics this last time, and there was someone from the 70s that was doing gymnastics. We got really into the gymnastics portion of
Oh my God, I was
the
thinking about her
Olympics.
the other day.
Nadia Comaneci.
Yes,
Nadia
yes.
Comaneci.
Hmm.
Like that is some breathtaking work. If you ever want to see some true artistry, check out
I
her.
think,
Even not even at the Olympics, at like the qualifiers. Like she's
mhm.
in another league. You
Also
know.
the fact that like most of what she did is like illegal now. Like you're not allowed to do it because like your body again should not do some of those things. I mean, speaking of Final Destination,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, it's gymnastics are a horror movie. When like I
Yeah.
sometimes when some of those women would like do the vaults and those bars, I would like close my eyes because I was like, they're gonna die. They never did, thankfully, but
Yeah.
it's dangerous.
To me, it was the high bar.
Ugh.
That always, oof, that high bar was rough. But yeah, it was also lovely because the men's gymnastics, beautiful bodies, beautiful gowns. Actually, not beautiful gowns because like she meant that shadily. Anyway,
I am in the minority that likes golf because people find
Really?
golf very boring. Yeah, I found it very interesting. I played golf in high school.
Oh wow.
This was around the Tiger Woods craze time when it was the biggest thing in the world. My dad loved golf, so it was like a bonding thing with my dad as a kid. So golf was fun, but yeah, you have to have a lot of patience for golf. It can be a very like people either love or hate golf is what I've noticed.
that was one of the
Yeah.
extracurriculars offered at my high school for gym. So I
Yeah.
would regularly do golf, tennis, volleyball, basically like anything where like you would be able to go out of the building and go for a walk. That was the one for me.
Yeah.
Tennis
Tennis
because
was
the
so hard for me. I was
I mean,
like never good at tennis.
I feel like you have to be able to run, I think, in order to play
Yeah.
tennis successfully because that the lung capacity is really important. But to me, the most important thing was that like the tennis courts or the green where they'd take us for golf was right next to where the football team would practice and they would all practice shirtless. It was my favorite thing in high school. I remember feeling particularly weak during a tennis match at one point because they would either have us play tennis or they'd have us play like pickle ball where they like you hit the ball against the wall that's outside, which like why isn't that just called tennis or wall ball, something simple? Why are we
Yeah,
calling it pickle ball? Where'd
this
the
whole
pickle come from?
pickleball craze is so weird to me. It's so Gen Z.
Is it a craze?
I feel like it is a craze right now, pickleball.
It feels like it's just a simpler version of tennis because you don't need a court. You just need an enclosed room and a wall.
Yeah.
But I've only ever played it outdoors. Does anybody have any final closing thoughts? I know that we like took a hard turn.
I mean, sports is health related too, so
Absolutely.
this is all connected.
I had a moment where I was like, should I start playing basketball again? Like going to a random park and being like, do you want to play, one-on-one or whatever? And I just don't have it. There's too much machismo still, like scary machismo living inside there for me.
Yeah.
But maybe one day.
No, final thoughts is I think it'd be great to like have a future convo about fitness. Yeah. Fitness is important. Fitness is a whole journey as well. Something I'm like trying to do, and I'm sure like we all have different opinions when it comes to fitness. So
Yeah, I mean, with fitness, it's a lot like cooking. You have to do it. Even if you do it poorly, it's okay. Just do it.
Yeah. You got to do it.
In any form, whatever you have the capacity for.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but we'll definitely have a conversation about that in the future. For sure.
I would really like to go on a very frou-frou health retreat. in
Ooh.
whatever form, because like in my fantasy, at the end of my life, I'm being pushed around in a wheelchair with a little blanket on my on my lap. So I feel like I'd like to go and like
Become the
that's very
president?
no, 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 stop it. No, no, no. Yeah, okay, so you know how these celebrities are like, I'm going to rehab because I'm stressed, or like
Mhm.
I need to like
You
I have
just you
exhaustion.
described yourself like FDR. That's why I'm
Yes,
saying this.
yeah, no, I realize that. I just the thing is, I've had that movie A Cure for Wellness on my mind recently. I know it's a
Ugh.
terrible movie,
Ugh.
but I love the idea of like the 19th century when they'd go to these spas to like take the waters, you know, where there was this culture all around like drinking the waters and submersing yourself in the waters and having treatments with them, and like I know that a lot of it was, you know, kind of quack science, but I think that as modern people, we don't like when people say like living your best life, it's kind of the opposite of that, I think a lot of the times. It's more like being busy and being successful and getting likes and being
Yeah.
Further
you know,
away
like
from nature.
exactly.
Being
And it
further
to
away from
just be
nature, yeah.
nice to go somewhere very I don't know, like, you know, a vacation by the seaside. I'm thinking of all these very like romantic, like 19th century things, but you know, where like they cook good food for you, and like you don't have to engage in your regular daily duties. Like you're going somewhere to be to be helped and to be assisted with like rejuvenating yourself, and that doesn't have to be like super healthy, it doesn't have to be medical, just somewhere where like you can go to just decompress. Like I would love whatever version of that, and I think it's this season of White Lotus that's doing it to me.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
Because
I
like the
mean,
fact that like they'll book like a de-stressing session for you, and just like, oh my god, I would take all the treatments,
yeah,
please,
yeah.
you know.
I mean, my
And
goal is like to get all of us to go to Thailand in the future,
that would be fun.
and to de-stress. And maybe we'll end up living in a monastery like Piper did.
Imagine we never come back.
I was thinking about that during last night's episode.
Piper, no.
Um, do you think there is such a thing as like scream therapy? Because like,
Yeah,
because
yes. There's scream rooms all the time. I've heard about this.
because I feel like there's definitely something to that. I joined a cult at one point in my like mid 20s, and one of the one of the more healing practices in there were they would turn the lights off, have us lay on the floor, and just scream until we couldn't scream anymore. And I just remember feeling lighter that night when I went home.
So I went on a sober retreat in P-Town a couple years ago, and one of the sessions was similar to that. It was, I don't think it was like necessarily screaming, but it was letting out all of everyone had to lay down and just like let it all out. And a lot of you it was like, like a lot of that happening. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that might have been the initial directive was like lay down and let it all out, but it turned into screaming and crying. Like that was basically
Yeah.
all that was happening in the room. And to this day, if I feel, I mean, this was before I was, given a prescription for Xanax and all that. But like when I feel like I can't figure my way out of a particularly stressful moment, screaming into a pillow is like, it's a very healing practice sometimes. Yeah, but I would love to do a screaming, like a healing screaming thing at some point. If
Yeah.
we can figure that out.
For sure. They have those, and they also have like break rooms where you just go in and break shit.
I want to do one of those.
Yeah.
I want to break some shit too.
Yeah.
Although I sort of feel like, you know how they tell you not to buy rawhides for your dogs because it teaches them to chew. I almost feel like the break room is bad for me because it's like meant to keep you away from violence.
Yeah.
So I want to make an announcement that my first installment of Robert Reacts is coming out on Friday of this week. It's my first review of the movie Hard Eyes. So tune in and find out what I thought. And I want to know what you think too. Let me know what you think. And if there's anything that you'd like me to react to, leave it in the comments. I'm ready to do it. So with that, thank you for tuning in. And like, share, subscribe. Share this with someone who you know has been thinking about their health journey lately. And come back next week because we're going to be here. So you should be here too. All right. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.